It was tricky because what I didn't realize, and I mean, I'm assuming the kind of owner did realize it had been hit. Well, the algo had just kind of came out, and it was slowly decreasing. Based on my research, I couldn't tell how far it was going to go down. For me, it looked like it was going to stabilize. So I kind of took the risk of buying as is, but of course it went down, which means what it was valued at wasn't necessarily what I purchased it at, because once everything goes down, you lose almost, well, I lost like 40% of the traffic, which wouldn't be too bad if it was just information posts, but it was review posts as well. So that was like 50% of commissions just dropped because one page that was significantly had a lot of significant traffic, it just got wiped out totally. So I was like, okay, wow, this is not great at all. So it lost traffic, it lost that particular review post. What I know now that I didn't realize was you really got to check which pages are bringing in all the cash, all the commissions, because if they do fluctuate, which they kind of always will, but if they go down too heavily, the valuation that you're paying is never going to hold. It's never going to withstand the test of time. So you need to know specifically how many pages are ranking and how many I guess you're going to rank to kind of keep it upwards. So yeah, that happened. It got hit. 40% was like a lot. I was like, wow, this thing. I mean, it didn't have much traffic, but now it's got a lot less. Just spent all this money, which I mean, it's not a significant amount, but it's still a decent amount of cash. So I was like, okay, wow, what's going to happen now? So that was my dilemma when I first picked it up. It was within about 4 weeks, it just kind of all plummeted.
How did you share this story with like family or friends? Like,
I
hey,
didn't.
okay, so you're
Yeah,
just like, all right, hopefully we could fix this, and then I could
yeah.
just tell the story after it's all better, right?
Yeah, well, if I'm being honest, I wanted a refund from, from the seller. I didn't send it luckily, but I was like, you sold me this failing website that maybe you knew, maybe you didn't, but like everything's gone to shit. And I'm like, what am I going to do if it's open? But in hindsight, it was the best thing that ever happened because it was starting kind of from rock bottom. I had to figure out how to do audits, technical audits. I had to think about how to disavow links, which at the time I had no idea. Like, what do you mean? Go into Google and submit request to de-index links. How does that even work? So yeah, I had to go through all those things, and then again, because the content wasn't ranking, I had to figure out, okay, why is the content not ranking? Let's go deep into it and do a content audit and find out what has gone down, why has it gone down, etc. So yeah, it was a blessing in disguise.
Okay, so let's dive into those areas. And first, let's talk about the on page. So you audited the on page,
Yeah.
and what did you look for? And then what did you do to fix it?
Yeah, so I stuck the website into Ahrefs, and they've got like a fantastic site audit tool. I mean, I think there's even a way for people to get it for free right now, but at the time you had to pay for it, right? Put it into to Ahrefs, and it gave me like maybe about 50 or 60 different items to check. The most important ones were pages that were kind of, I think they're called 404 or 301. Some of them were redirected, and some of them were just hitting blank walls and getting it was just like a broken page. So I've checked those. Those are really important. Fixed those. There were like lots of title tags and headers and meta tag descriptions missing or invalid or duplicated. So I just went through that list and just meticulously changed things and edited things and allowed the site to, it was just cleaner. Once I finished just the technical audit, it was a lot cleaner. And then after that, there was like a content audit that I did as well.
So with the content audit, what did you look for there?
Ahrefs again has a really good template, like a spreadsheet that you plug your website into, and it once you put the input in, it outputs all of the different web pages, and it allows you to see which ones are receiving a lot of traffic and which ones are not getting much at all. So I put my parameters in, and I found out that probably about 20% of the maybe a little bit more, maybe like 30% of the web pages, they wasn't really receiving much traffic, and they've been around for like 6 months plus. So if they haven't got traffic and they've been around for a little while, it probably makes sense to either redirect them and consolidate them or just delete them completely. I tried not to delete too many, but there were some that was like maybe 300 words that kind of didn't need to be on the website as is. So they've got deleted, and I just consolidated tons of information. So again, it was in a pet niche. So for example, let's say like talking about cats, if there was different articles on cats, but they were going around the same thing and they were really short, and just put them all together. And then importantly, I would like optimize the keywords that when Google comes and researches for the content, it's something that's more structured and there's a keyword in there and there's title tags are correct and the H1's correct, etc. So that took a little while actually. It took a little while just to kind of go through and consolidate and redirect, and that one's broken, needs to be fixed, etc.
Do you remember how many articles you removed or consolidated? So you started with roughly
Yeah,
50, and then
yeah.
how many after this audit exercise?
Yeah, so the stick rate was probably about 20, about 30 actually. So 60% of articles stayed, but 40% of them either removed or was consolidated, and maybe like 10% were just deleted outright because they didn't really make any sense at the time. So it was definitely well needed because once it was finished, the site was like really lean. It had all of the information, all of the tags and everything was correct. And when I read it, indexed everything, you could just see it just felt a lot faster.
Okay, great. And then was there anything else with on-site that you did before we move on to your off-site and link audit?
I wasn't really familiar with on-site. I knew conceptually what it meant, so I've done some research with that, and I picked up a tool called Surfer with Surfer SEO, which is a really really good tool, and played around with the metrics in that. I've done a few tests and left it for like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks, and saw what worked and what didn't, and it had a really profound effect on the positions that the top pages were in the SERPs. So essentially, what Surfer does is just because kind of gives you like a competitive analysis of where your competitors are. So I just plugged in, for example, like word count. My words were maybe like 900, but everything on page one was like 1,500. I just added more words. Or if I had too much text that was bolded, or if I didn't have the correct link structure in place, or it had like maybe 6 or 7 different parameters that you just need to close the gap essentially. Add more. Specifically, they had phrases and word matches that you need to include. So, for example, like a cat page again, they would have like if the page had different keywords on. Sorry, if the page that your competitors had certain keywords or phrases, you would kind of need to have those as well because Google's kind of telling you this is if you want to be top three, you need to have this type of words and this many times, etc. So yeah, played with all those things, especially for the top 10 pages, and just got the on-site looking really. It looked robust. It was a lot more filled. Content was propped up a little bit, and as time started to move on and test, and I've done a few more tests, the on-page made a big difference actually, especially
Okay.
specifically with Surfer.